Hello everybody. Today I have purchased a course from Think School. This course is all about communication masterclass. The reason why I purchased this course is to improve myself and I need to learn how to speak in front of camera. So because I am planning to start a YouTube channel, same like my blog, I basically want to talk about what I write in my blogs. So definitely those videos will be helpful for people who are relocating to Singapore. So if you don't know me, if I have some spare time, I usually write about migration, cost of living in Singapore in my website. So yeah, the same thing I want to do in my YouTube channel as well. So with the purpose of this, I purchased this course, and today I finished the first chapter of it. The instructor gave us a very small task, but it's pretty challenging, I guess now. So the task is I want to talk about something which I really know for 5 minutes in front of a camera, in front of a selfie camera. So what I'm going to talk today is since I'm living in Singapore for 5 years now. So recently I have published an article about why I really like Singapore. So today video I'll allocating for that topic, why I like Singapore, right? So yeah, if you don't know me, I am Husni Jeffrey. I am from Sri Lanka and currently living in Singapore and working as a senior software test engineer in a company called Grab. So let's get into the topic. So why I like Singapore. So to be honest, I never lived in another country for so long. I think this is my first country. Directly I moved from Sri Lanka to Singapore. So I do not have much experience in living in other country, but with my friends' experience, I compared Singapore with I compared Singapore with the countries where my friends living. So I came up with this list and why I still prefer to stay in Singapore for some more time. Okay, the first thing is Singapore is extremely safe. So I hope you may heard about this safety index. So Singapore is ranked as one of the safest place in this world. Basically you don't really want to worry about going for a walk at the night. Locking the door of your apartment. All these things you don't want to worry about actually. So everything is pretty safe in Singapore, and there is no almost zero crimes in Singapore, and basically it's a pretty safe place and nothing to worry about our safety. The second thing is, I'm just going through my list as well. The second thing is, as I mentioned, I'm a software test engineer, which means I'm coming from IT background. Singapore is a Silicon Valley of Asia, so there are so many job opportunities for IT software people. So it's quite easy to find a job comparing to some other countries, as the Singapore is the hub of Asia. Okay, so that is another reason why I like Singapore. The third one is I am a little bit a family oriented person. I really want to stay in touch with my family members back in Sri Lanka, my sisters, my parents, my nephews. So I think for person like me, it is very important to stay in a country where I can quickly reach to Sri Lanka. So Singapore is relatively close to Sri Lanka, just 3.5 flight from Changi to Colombo, and only it will cost me somewhere around $500 to $600. Is pretty affordable. The other reason is Singapore offers visa free for Sri Lankan passport holders. This is one of the best reason I like Singapore, because so for example, if I move to a country like Germany or Australia or maybe New Zealand, I took this example because these are the famous countries most of the Sri Lankans are preferred to relocate to. So but those countries have a strict visa process for Sri Lankan passport holders. But in Singapore, if I okay, I actually no need to live, even though if I am not living, still my parents can visit. But the basically what I'm trying to say is people for Sri Lankans who wants to visit Singapore, they do not want to go through this hectic visa process. They can simply take the passport and they can book a flight and they can come to Singapore. So it's visa free and hassle free. So they can stay in Singapore for 30 days. So my sisters, my parents, my nephews, if they want to visit me, the visa process is very simple, and actually it's almost zero effort. Just they can purchase a ticket from any airline and they can come to Singapore and stay with me for 30 days. Another reason is majority of Singaporeans can speak English. So it's almost, I can say that English speaking country. So there are countries in Europe, it's very difficult to survive without knowing their local language. For example, Germany. So if you want to survive in Germany, so you need to learn their language. But Singapore, pretty much almost everybody can understand English, can speak English, even though they are using their own accent, usually people call it as Singlish. So still it's we can consider as English speaking country, so that you can get the things done you can get the things done by communicating properly. You don't need help from any others to make the things happen, to talk to someone, to go to any government agencies. All these things, everybody in those places can speak English pretty well. The other thing is, okay, so I am if I get some time, I usually do stock trading. Singapore offers a fantastic thing. Basically, if you don't want to pay taxes for the income which you have earned through stock markets. There are countries, they the amount which you are earning from stock market also taxable, but in Singapore there is no such thing. So if you earn, doesn't matter how much you earn from stock market, it's 100% tax free. You don't want to pay for tax for the income which you have earned from stock market. But there are some cases, if you get the stock from your company as a restricted stock unit or ESPP, that is a different subject. But if you are doing trading or investment from your personal account, then you don't want to pay any taxes in Singapore. Another reason is comparatively other countries, the income tax rate is relatively low. Okay, so there are numbers. You can go to a website called iras.com.sg. So I'm not exactly sure what is the URL is. I mean, you can Google it and you can find out the Singapore income tax rates. So basically, comparing to the country like Germany, Australia, so Singapore's income tax is pretty much low. Another reason is I am not a person like who really enjoy driving, who really like to have a car. So for person like me, I prefer to use public transport so that I can watch a video while I'm commute from place A to place B. So yeah, Singapore's public transport is almost perfect. So you don't want to wait for 15 to 20 minutes to get a bus or train. So every 5 to 10 minutes maximum. So definitely you can get a bus. And the inside the public transport also pretty clean. The aircon is there, so there is no issue in using the public transport. So that is another reason why I like Singapore. Another best reason, so as I mentioned, so I'm IT person. The life of IT guys, right? So usually we consume a lot of internet, and as I mentioned before, I'm a very family oriented guy. So because of this, I usually connect with my family members, calling them, video calling them, chatting with them. So internet is a big factor for me. Internet is really matters for me. So Singapore have a high quality internet, then high speed internet, and as I saw in one of the article, Singapore's internet quality is ranked as the number one in the world actually. Okay, so that is another reason. I know that these reasons may be very weird to you, but those things are matters to me. The other reason is a perfect infrastructure. So if you ever visit to Singapore, you will see it's a very well organized country, very clean country. Its infrastructure is perfect. If you want to visit from this place to another place, for example, let's say that your friend invited you for a dinner or a lunch. So once they give their home address, you know how to go there, because the infrastructure system, the way they organize all the houses, the house numbers, block numbers, everything is perfect. So in overall, it's a very the infrastructure is well perfect, so that basically you can live in a very good life with this infrastructure. Another reason is I lived in Sri Lanka for nearly 27 years. So I am very much used to Sri Lankan climate. Surprisingly, the Sri Lanka climate and the climate in Singapore are pretty similar. Okay, so it's a friendly climate. If it is for example, that most probably the weather is somewhere between 25 to 32. So it's quite okay actually. So people who lives in South Asian countries, they won't feel a difference in the weather, as those countries weather and the Singapore weathers are pretty similar. The other one is diversity of foods actually. Singapore is a very small country, but this country is, there are so many other countries around Singapore. For example, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, So all these food cultures are in Singapore. For example, if you want to eat a Thai food, there are restaurants. If you want to eat Malaysian food, if you want to eat Indonesian food, you can simply find all these kind of restaurant within maybe 5 to 10 minutes of ride, or maybe a maximum of 30 minutes via a train or a bus. So that's another reason why I like Singapore. And also I am a Muslim and I prefer to eat halal food, and there are so many places where I can find halal food. So that is another reason why I prefer to stay in Singapore. Another reason is no need to deal with some discrimination. For example, I'm not sure whether you have heard it or not, but in a country like USA, so they have this Black Lives Matters, all this discrimination stuff. But in Singapore, there is no such thing. So everybody is equal. That's how the culture is in Singapore. But I mean, everywhere there are some minor racist stuff, but those are heavily regulated, and there is a strict rules against for such discrimination. So in general, we can say that there is no discrimination in Singapore. Another reason, Singapore is an travel hub actually. So Singapore's airport, Changi Airport, is one of the best airport in the world. You can find a flight from Changi to most of the famous cities around the globe. So it's very easy to travel from Singapore to anywhere else. So I can take a direct flight from Changi to Colombo. If I want to visit Malaysia, I can take a flight from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, and which will cost somewhere around $100 to $150 for the return journey. So, and also there are so many countries in Asia, for example China, Japan. So if you want to, if you're allowed to travel, so Singapore is one of the best place, as you can find relatively cheaper flights from Singapore. That's another reason. Another thing is, Singapore is a very open country. There are so many foreigners working in Singapore. So because of this, there is a huge diversity. in Singapore. So you can find Indians, you can find Bangladeshis, you can find people from Pakistan, you can find people from Europe, you can find people from China, Australia. So there are so many different cultures, different people coming from different backgrounds. So that diversity, I really love it. I really love to explore. I really like to meet people from different backgrounds. So yeah, that is another reason why I really like Singapore. So another big reason is efficiency of Singapore. So Singapore is a very fast moving country, and you can get the things done in few clicks. Most of the things we can get it done via online. So that is another reason. For example, if you want to take a loan from the bank, you don't want to go to bank to fill few documents, nothing. So you just can give maximum, you just give a call to the bank. If you want to negotiate the interest rate which you can see in your banking application, then you have to call the bank. Unless if you are happy with the interest rate which you can see in your bank application, you can simply apply the loan and you will get it in few hours. And paying the tax some visa related matters, all these things can be done online. So that is another good reason. It's very easy to get the things done. The other reason is Singapore is activity friendly. So I try to stay active. So like, for example, if I get some chance, I go for a walk, I go for a run, I play badminton with couple of my ex-colleagues. So I do workout near my house, and I go for cycling. So Singapore's infrastructure, as I mentioned before, Singapore's infrastructure is a very friendly for these things. So you can find a gym nearby, else you can find a very peaceful place to do your workouts very safely. And there are some cycling tracks. So all these things are there, so that you can involve in such activities to be active. So that is another reason why I like Singapore. And this is almost I have mentioned before, clean and well organized country. So I think Singapore is you can search it. Singapore is one of the cleanest country in the world. So if you already visited Singapore, you may already know that. So yeah, that is another reason why I like Singapore. So another thing is this thing came to my mind after Russia invade Ukraine. So then something triggered in my head, like not only the country, we need to think about neighbors as well, right? Because the Russia is the neighbor of Ukraine, but because of some aggression, so they invade Ukraine. But the countries around Singapore are very friendly with Singapore. For example, Malaysia, Indonesia. So these countries also, this factor also matters. So that's why we can live a very peaceful life. We know that nothing will happen like Ukraine and Russia conflict. So it's pretty much safe. So that is another reason actually. So another reason, even though I am in IT field at this moment, I prefer to do business. So from my childhood onwards, if somebody asks what I want to be in my life, I always say that I want to be a businessman. So I love to start business. I love to do business. So therefore, staying in a country where it's a business friendly is very important for me, for my future goals. Singapore is one of the best for that actually. So Singapore have a well-defined system, so that you can easily start a business, and well-defined process. You don't want to waste too much time. You don't want to bribe politician to start a business. I'm not putting my country down, but these things are very common in Sri Lanka. So if you want to start a business, then you need some contact from the politicians. Sometimes you have to bribe them. So no such thing in Singapore. So there is a well defined process. If you meet all these criteria, you can simply start a business. So that is another good thing about Singapore. So yeah, another thing is Singapore's education system is also ranked as one of the best in the world. So and also another thing I want to highlight, that the quality of healthcare in Singapore. You may heard that people around the globe, especially the politician, rich people, if they want to get some medical treatment, they usually come to Singapore because the healthcare in Singapore is ranked as one of the best in the globe, around the globe. So that is another reason. And last two is actually Singapore demonstrated that their growth is very steady, and they got a tremendous economic growth during last 20 to 30 to 40 years of time. So that give the confident about the country's economic growth. Another thing is the Singapore's political stability. This also matters. There are some countries, if it is become a politically unstable, then those countries have some chance to go from current level to maybe all the way to the bankruptcy. That's what actually happened to Sri Lanka as well, because of the political instability. But in Singapore, the political stability is extremely good, and yeah, so these are the main reason why I really like Singapore, and why I think that Singapore is perfectly suitable for my future goals and the way I live. So yeah, even though a lot of my friends have already moved out of Singapore after working here for 5 to 6 to 7 years of time, I still stay in Singapore because I like this country. I like the especially the things which I have mentioned, which mostly matters to me. So yeah, basically these are my reasons why I like Singapore. I think I am okay. As a first attempt, I managed to talk nearly 22 minutes in front of camera. So let's send this video to my instructor to get some feedback about this conversation. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you.